Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is From the Fourth Row. This is my podcast. This is new. This is a new experiment for me. I'm doing something different. I used to do a show called The 52 Must-See Movies and Why They Matter. Not doing that anymore. This is a 6-part series. I'm calling it Bleacher Features. And the name kind of says it all. Bleacher Features means sports movies. So I'm going to be doing a 6-part sports movies long form discussion. And with me this evening is Chance Ellison. Chance, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I asked Chance, what movie would you like to talk about? What sports movie resonates with you? And he basically confirmed that Remember the Titans was a movie that he really, really enjoyed and he wanted to talk about. So this is an absolute classic. Denzel Washington is at his best, but he's not the only one in the cast. You're gonna recognize some of these names here. The director, though, is a little like, I don't know a whole lot about this director. Maybe you can chime in on the director. Chance, his name is Bosley. What else has this guy done?
Bosley.
Bosley, that's what it said when I looked up the director. Bosley, really?
You know what? He directed a movie called Uptown Girls, starred Brittany Murphy and Dakota Fanning.
Wow.
That's something he did. He did like a Jason Statham movie called Safe.
Oh, okay.
And a few years ago, he did a movie about a dog called Max. So like, I remember the Titans is really like that's his most notable credit.
Okay. All right. I thought I was like Bosley. Who's this guy? Okay, so obviously Denzel Washington, Coach Herman Boone, iconic role for him. When people talk about top 5, top 10 Denzel Washington roles, they always go to. Usually, people go to Coach Herman Boone on their top 10s, top 5s, whatever. Will Patton plays Coach Will Yost. We'll get into talking about him. Ryan Hurst plays Gary Bertier. He's a huge part of the cast. Hayden Panettiere plays Cheryl Yost. Now, she does not look like the Hayden Panettiere from the TV show she was in.
Heroes.
She's very young here, but you could see it's her when you look close. Another guy that's been in a lot of different movies, but haven't seen him recently in a whole lot. Ethan Suplee. Ethan Suplee plays Louis Lastic. Donald Faison, another guy who's been around, been in wasn't he in a sitcom?
He was on Scrubs.
Scrubs, that's right, Scrubs. He plays Petey Jones. And also, I think I skipped him on here. Ryan Gosling plays Alan Bosley. Ryan Gosling now is a megastar. He had a little kind of small role in this film. Actually, he wasn't a major part in Remember the Titans. And Kip Pardue, Ronnie Sunshine Bass. What do you think of this cast? Is there anybody that I missed that you wanted to bring up?
Well, a big one you missed was Wood Harris as Julius Campbell, he's a great actor. Love that guy. I'm a huge fan of The Wire, so I love Wood Harris. He's a terrific actor. But yeah, no, look at this cast. It's a great mixture of seasoned vets of the screen and just like upcoming talent, especially with Gosling. Considering he has such a minimal role in this movie, he's not that big a part, which is crazy to think that this guy would go on to be one of the best actors working today.
Yeah. This is the thing when you go back and you watch these movies from 15, 20 years ago or whatever, and you see the case, say, oh, I know that guy from that. I know that guy from that, and you see all these different people and you're like, oh man. And of course, Ryan Gosling's the one that stands out the most because he's a megastar nowadays. But talk about the fact that I want to ask you, what made you want to talk about this film before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the film? Why is Remember the Titans a film that you kind of resonate with and want to talk about?
Well, I played football growing up, so I kind of grew up around this movie. it's one that, like anytime my family wanted to watch a movie, that was one we always threw in, just like, oh, we do all Remember the Titans again. I think like my family has it on DVD, my grandmother has it on DVD. Like I'm like 99% sure everybody in my family has a copy of Remember the Titans on DVD. It was always just on at random points, and it's something just we can throw on anytime and just watch because we like football and we love football movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when I have my top 10 list of the greatest football movies of all time, which I always do. I think actually I did your show and we did the top 10 football movies of all time.
We did top 5. Yeah, you were on that one.
That's right. That's right. Top 5 football movies. And I would have been beside myself if Remember Titans didn't make that list, because it's just clearly it's one of the greatest sports movies of all time, let alone football movies. You could put it on best Denzel Washington movies. There's so many categories it fits into. That's when Disney too was really at their peak of doing their sports movies. They kind of had the market on sports movies, good feel good sports movies. And then all of a sudden lately it just kind of went the way of the dodo bird. I'm still baffled why we still don't get any more Disney sports movies.
We do. They just don't do very well. Like they did $1 Million Arm a few years ago. They did that Kevin Costner track one, McFarlane USA, which is actually pretty underrated. I like that movie quite a bit. But yeah, I think it's just because like their sports movies, and recently haven't done very well, so that's why they don't do them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think sports movies is one of the best genres in all of film, in my opinion. Obviously, how big of a fan of sports and sports movies I am, and that's why that's kind of why I went to you and asked you what would you want to talk about, and you said Remember the Titans. So here we go. All right, we're going to get into it now. This is a long form discussion about the film. We will have spoilers. I'm not giving non-spoilers here. This movie came out 20 years ago, I think, right? Pretty much close to 20 years ago. Something like that.
So when it came out, yeah, it went around 20 years ago.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it by now, then I don't know what to do, So we're going to start going into long-form discussion of it. Herman Boone arrives. He is the new coach of T.C. Williams High School. Coach Yost turns down assistant coaching job. White players say they do not want other players. They kind of want to sit out the season. White players don't want to play after Coach Yost turned them down, and Herman Boone was announced as the new head coach of this mixed high school. They combined 2 high schools into one. Coach Yost was the head coach. Herman Boone was the coach of the crosstown team, and now they're combined. So that's pretty much the main beginning of the film.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is the fact that, they're trying to ease racial tensions. So in an effort to do that, because Boone was supposed to be the assistant coach. So once he got there, they're just like, oh, you know what? We need help easing this along. So something that surely won't backfire. We'll make you the head coach and kind of screw this guy out of his job and make an assistant.
Yeah, and then anybody in that situation would say, "No, I don't want to be an assistant coach."
Yeah, I mean, like Coach Yost was pissed, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Honestly, his daughter's more broken up bad than he is.
Oh yeah, she's pretty upset. This girl, portrayed by Hayden Panettiere, she is such a firecracker in this film. If you didn't like Hayden Panettiere before this film, or never heard of her, definitely see her in this one because she's fantastic. And Remember the Titans as a little girl. All right, so the guys are going to be going on a camp to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I believe. And Coach Boone says to them, if you survive camp, you'll be on the team. Then Coach Yost comes walking up and eventually joins Coach Boone. Then we have Coach Boone says something which embarrasses Gary Bertier.
Oh, I remember. It's like Gary Bertier approached me just like, hey, look, it's like we got defense covered and we're willing to split offense, trying to, like strong armament of not playing black players. And he compares him to comedians, just like he calls Gary Bertier, he calls him Jerry Lewis. I forgot what he calls the other guy.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis. Oh God, I don't want to say Dick Van Dyke. I don't think it was Dick.
No, it's not Dick Van Dyke.
Dang it! I'm sorry. I just watched this movie again for like the 20th time, and I still can't remember. It's Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Dean Martin.
That's it.
Dean Martin. That's what it was. Yep. So because he thinks these guys are comedians, what do you?
Yeah.
You're a comedian here, So then we get a fight in the dorm room over beds and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, because the whole racist white black thing having to be in the dorms together.
Yeah, well, he was very explicit about doing that because like even when they were getting on the bus, he's like all blacks on one bus, all whites on one. He's like, hey, you know what? Screw this. All offense get on this bus, all defense get on that bus, and we're gonna go. And yeah, it was just like every black player gets assigned a white player to kind of just buddy up with. And I think Julius had a poster of, I think it was Jesse Owens, if I'm not mistaken. It was Jesse Owens and the other guy who was standing next to him. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, no, he had a poster of Black Power on his wall. And
it was Black Power, but was that Jesse Owens?
That I couldn't tell who it was. I
remember what the poster was. But anyways, yeah, he gets it, and then Gary gets pissed at him. Then that's when the fight breaks out.
Yeah.
I think that's when Boone signed these side and just like, hey, look, every day you're gonna learn something new about your your buddy, your roommate, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're gonna report back to me by the end of the day. Or no, it's you learn something new about every player every day and report back to me.
Yeah. So we're in the camp and Petey runs a mile for fumble on the football right off the bat. He doesn't take like prejudice towards black players. Petey drops the ball in practice, gets decked. You're running a mile. And that kind of gets the eye up of Coach Yost.
Well, yeah, because like even in the beginning of the film when all the white players quit because Yost wasn't the coach, all the black players thought this was going to be their time to shine. Even when the white players came back, it was like, we're going to get play time. But no, like Herman Boone, he's in a way advancing race relations by treating them. He treats them the same as the white players. Like you're not going to get a starting spot just because you're black. It's going to be based on skill. It's like who's best for the job.
Yeah. Then they sing the Temptations.
Oh well, it was the quarterback Rev and Ethan Suplee's character. I can't remember his name.
Louis Lastic.
Lastic, who, by the way, like you look at the picture, like Ethan Suplee over the years has lost a ton of weight.
Oh yeah, he was.
Like,
big back then.
He looks great now.
Yeah.
Super jacked, but he's the only white player who you're making an effort to get to know the black players.
Yeah, you're right. But Coach, he's fed up with some of the things that are going on in the camp. He makes them do up downs.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to coach football. Trust me, I know those days too. I didn't have to go through the up downs. I just watched the up downs a lot. I apologize that you had to go through the up downs, Chance.
Only when we did things wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you do things right, you don't get up down. Sure, you're absolutely. Finally, Gary decides, you know what? I'm sick of the up downs. I'm sick of the 3-a-day practices. He makes an effort to get to know Julius.
Right. And like I think the relationship between Julius and Gary is probably my favorite in the entire film, because it's really complex and goes through from the beginning to end. It goes through the most change.
Absolutely.
Like it's like the model friendship in this film, and yeah, I think it's a tribute to the actors because both Ryan Hurst and Wood Harris both have really great chemistry and both are giving really great performances. And yeah, like the two of them together just really work.
Oh yeah, they really do. I mean, if that relationship in the movie doesn't work, if you could see that they don't get along and they're not working on their relationship, the whole movie falls flat on its face. Because basically, besides the relationship between the two coaches, that's the relationship that moves the plot, moves the whole movie forward, is the relationship between Gary and Julius. All right, so then Coach Boone gets the whole team up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they run, not take a car, not take a bus. They run at 3 a.m. in the morning to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And needless to say, go ahead.
And I was like, what wasn't the camp at Gettysburg College?
I thought it was Bethlehem, but it could have been.
Was it? Maybe. Maybe it was Bethlehem, but either way, yeah, they have to run to they don't know where at 3 a.m. So, and by the time they finish the run, it's like morning, it's daylight, so you know they were running for a long time.
And Coach Boone basically talks about the Civil War, and he was talking about how these guys were fighting the same fight we're fighting today, and how long are we going to keep fighting this fight before we realize, we need to start getting along. It was a very emotional moment in the film.
It's actually also like a really potent message given standards today. I mean, this film I think is still as relevant in 2000 as it is like right now.
I know 20 years ago, and now we're still, if you watch the news any day, if you've been watching the news last couple of years, and here's a quote from Coach Herman Boone from the film. If we don't come together on this hallowed ground, we'll never come together. That says it all.
Powerful.
If you can't come together on that hallowed ground. This is when new QB arrives. Ronnie Sunshine Bass, Kip Pardue, shows up, and his father comes to driving a Corvette, and he's like, "My son's a quarterback," and he's like, "Well, we're all set at quarterback."
Oh yeah, well, they got Rev, he's doing really well. It's not like he's a bad QB. No, he's a good player. So they're not about to bench Rev for this guy who just showed up.
No, Sunshine from California. The thing is, he's not the type of quarterback that fits into their system. Being a throwing quarterback doesn't fit into the veer option system that Coach Boone has. So he struggles learning the pitch.
Yeah, that's a problem Ronnie has at this movie, which eventually does overcome. But yeah, and there are tons of movies where they'll bench the current player for someone who doesn't show up. I'm glad they didn't fall into that trap.
Yeah, that it did work out kind of cool like that Rev, until something happens later on, but we won't get into that just yet. But so the team goes in the locker room, and this is one of the most iconic movies in the film, or in a lot of different films, is that they all sing in the locker room, "There ain't no mountain high enough." And then they start going, "What kind of power you got?" "I got soul power."
Soul power. I remember that.
Which became their mantra. And then they started coming out during the games doing this whole thing, this whole dance and this whole chant coming out of the locker room, coming into the game.
Yeah, and like other teams just didn't know how to take that. I mean, granted, if I were on the other team, I'd be super confused also. But yeah, it's the whole team building aspect, like that. That's what works the most in this film. Just the way these guys come together as a unit. Because like any coach will tell you, I'm sure like football, it's a group effort. Like you need to be a unit, you need to move as one. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And this movie does a great job at illustrating that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they get back from camp, and Alan's father says, "What did they do? Brainwash them up there?" We're at September 4th, the first day of school integration, and it is a mob scene.
Oh yeah, you also noticed the fact that, like, despite the fact that as much as they've grown as a team, the rest of the world, the rest of the world, or the rest of this small town, not too kind, not too kind to this to these other people.
No, not at all. So Coach Boone has a meeting, and he's walking out on the field, and he basically calls the football field his sanctuary, with the with some of the people that basically got him hired.
Right.
And they basically, he finds out that if he loses one game,
He's out.
he's fired. Yeah.
Which is like, that's like ridiculous standards to put on just any coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you lose. That's like that's some like mid Texas, Central Texas stuff. Like you lose one game, you're out. It's like a town in like mid Texas, like you go to like Midland or Odessa, you lose a game, the town will turn on you in an instant.
Oh yeah, well, Florida's the same way. I mean, Florida is a little bit more leeway. Georgia, Texas, Ohio, all huge football, high school football states. California is another one that's a big one. But you're right.
Sure.
Texas, forget about it. Georgia, forget about it. I have friends that have been fired, moved around multiple times in Georgia because they've been fired after one season. So they finally get the first game, and Coach Boone's behind the pillar vomiting.
only time I've ever seen Denzel get nervous before anything.
Yeah, I know, and they're crazy. Then a very nice speech from Coach Yost. The Titans were greater than the gods. They ruled their territory better than the gods. The gods are gods, but the Titans, they fought, they crawled, they clawed, they knew what was theirs, and they didn't want to lose it. And that's the name of the team, the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
So Coach Yost wanted to compare the football team to the actual real life Titans of yesteryear.
Of course.
Which is a very great comparison if you want to try to motivate a football team.
It is. Like it's Coach Yost gives a solid pep talk in there.
Yeah, he does. Petey is not playing good. He gets pulled from the game. Coach Yost takes him aside. He comes in on defense. This is not making Coach Boone happy.
Right. Yeah, because he kind of just undermines him in that case, which is, I mean, no head coach would be super thrilled about the move he just did.
So they're all, it's a night, it's a weekend, whatever it is. They're all out. Gary's out, his friend on the team, which I forget the guy's name, and his girlfriend, Ellie. I believe her name is Ellie or Emma or something.
I think it's like Ellie.
Yeah, Ellie. She comes with the other guy on the team, and they try to get him to come with them. They're going to go to a bonfire or whatever, something.
Right.
And he's like, no, I don't want to go with you guys. I want to stay with the team. And so that is a big moment for Gary in the film. It shows where his loyalties lie after we see him switch in the camp, but now we know that the team is all that matters to him.
Well, because even like his buddy is still probably the only one on the team who's not taking kindly to the integration stuff. His girlfriend was played by Kate Bosley, by the way, is straight up just rude to Julius the first time they meet. So yeah. I mean, I think he's really started to grow, really started to see the error of his ways in previous scenes. So I mean, yeah, you understand why he decides to, rather than go to this bonfire, to hang out with the rest of the team.
Yeah, Ronnie Sunshine decides, you know what? Come on, guys, I'm going to go in this restaurant. I'm going to get something to eat. And Julius and somebody.
It's like Julius, like Rev. I think Pete was there, and Louis, I'm pretty sure, was there.
And of course, the restaurant manager comes and says, we're closed. Or what did he say? He said, we're closed, or we're not serving.
Yeah, so we're not serving right now, and you can clearly see there's people in the restaurant
eating.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, he says, if you guys want something, you could order something in the back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then the guys walked out and they're like, see what I tell you? You know, they're telling Sunshine. So Sunshine's from California. He's not from the South. So this is a whole new world for Sunshine.
I mean, yeah, he comes from a place that's I think in the 70s was a little more progressive. That's not a lot more progressive than the South. Actually, why did I say the 70s? This is the 70s, is it? It's like the 60s. Oh, is it the 70s?
Oh yeah, early 70s.
That's what I thought. I'm like, because the late 60s, early 70s.
It might have been in the 60s.
But either way, like, California at this time was like way more progressive than Virginia was. So it's a big like culture shock to him.
Yeah. So Fred, Alan's father, we saw earlier in the film how Alan got pulled for Petey because he couldn't cover this guy for this one team. And Fred went nuts. Put my son back in. Put my son back in. Well, he bursts in on a meeting with the coaches and says, my son should be playing this, that, and the other. So, and then the whole thing with Coach Boone telling Coach Yost about don't be patronizing the black kids. That's the last thing they need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Coach Yost, I mean, it's a odd move, especially like taking a guy from offense and putting him on defense in the middle of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, you can see where Coach Boone sees this as a screw up on Yost's part.
Yeah, and when you're watching it, anybody that's coached football, anybody like yourself that's played football, you realize that was a mistake. Because that's, like you said earlier, it's undermining the coach. You can't do that. All right, so they're at the game number 2. They're playing Herndon High. There ends up being a fight in the hallway. God.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, somebody drives by Coach Boone's house and throws a brick through the window.
Yeah, and I think like his kid and maybe Coach Yost's kid are in the building.
Yeah, all the kids are in there because Cheryl was playing with Coach Boone's daughter. Of course, you know, they don't get along because Cheryl's into sports, and Coach Boone's daughter wants to be a girly girl. She does her nails. She plays with dolls, and she's over there trying to help Coach Boone with coaching advice, giving him coach. And he's like, "Go over there, play with my daughter, please. I don't play with dolls."
Which, by the way, I'm very impressed by Hayden Panettiere as a young actor in this film to go up against Denzel Washington, one of the greatest actors to ever work. And she it's not she's not like acting circles around her. Like, she gives just as much as Denzel in the scenes they have together. And it's really impressive for an actor of that age to be able to do that.
Yeah, very, very. And she holds her own in this movie. That's why she stands out so much. Then there's a team meeting with players only.
Right.
Then the team creates the chant, which we talked about before. They kind of come up with something at the camp, but this is the real chant that they end up going out to the games with. They go, "Coach, we want to tell you, we're gonna change it up before the game. We're gonna come out to something before the game." They end up telling Coach Boone that, so he doesn't he doesn't get surprised by it.
Yeah, no, like they do the whole everywhere we go, and then that became like a huge thing for like sports. I mean, that chant was everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the chant that really got them going. It really fired them up before the games and stuff. And of course, that was I mean, when the movie came out, everybody, like you said, was doing it. All the football teams, they had variations on that chant, but
They
it
did.
was basically the same thing. Then finally, Coach Yost kind of gets up the courage to basically get in Coach Yost Boone's face and say, "Hey, you got to learn humility. You can't be just angry all the time. You just can't be. The world isn't always out to get you all the time. You gotta kind of start being a little bit more laid back."
Yeah, tells us to Denzel, which I think the thing with Denzel acts, he's very showy, and like whenever Denzel's on screen, you feel it. Like, and it doesn't matter what he's talking about, you're tuned in, you're listening. And Coach Yost is telling him to tone that back. He's telling Denzel to be less Denzel at that point.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because that's basically it's Denzel. I mean, it's Herman Boone, but it's basically Denzel. So
Basically Denzel.
yeah,
much like a lot of his roles, it's basically Denzel.
And then he tells him, "Welcome to my life, Yost." Because it's not an easy. He doesn't have an easy job of what he's doing. So then we're up to game number 3 where they're playing Groston. And then, of course, like you said, team song, everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. We are the Titans. So there you go.
Yeah.
Petey gets hurt due to a missed block.
No, it was Rev, not Petey.
Oh, okay, Rev, my bad. Rev gets hurt from a missed block. Ronnie has to come into the game. Finally, Ronnie Sunshine learns the option, which is a good moment for me because when I coach football, this is what we coach. We coach option football. When option football is working, Chance, it is one of the most beautiful things you will ever see in any sport.
I would agree.
It is a beautiful, beautiful thing when the option works. And I'll tell you what, when I was coaching, we had our teams were amazing at the option. Our quarterback ended up playing for Navy. His name is Craig Candido. Phenomenal. You could look up his games. He scored 7 touchdowns in one game against Army. Craig Candido, which is a Navy Army record.
Damn.
Another whole thing. That's another whole thing. So the team ends up winning the game, but Gary wants Ray to be kicked off the team for missing the block. He says that Ray missed the block on purpose. And Ray was the kid that came up to Gary earlier in the movie. Hey, come with us, come to the bonfire. That's basically was his best friend up till that point.
Yeah, he was the Dean Martin to his Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. So that's you're saying to Coach Boone, I want my best friend to be kicked off the team for missing a block on purpose. That really tells you where Gary's head is at that time.
No, yeah, it really does, and it's not on Boone. It's on the captain, which he is one of them. So he has to be the one to kick his friend off the team.
Yeah, he has to make the decision that captains will make, the hard decisions, and he knows Ray's a cancer, and Ray had to go. Because if he's going to miss blocks on purpose to hurt other players, I mean, a lot of guys could get hurt. So go ahead.
No, yeah, that's dangerous at that point. Like it's liability, and a liability you can't afford to have.
No, you cannot. You're absolutely right. You cannot afford to have that. All right, so the team's getting along fine. The team is undefeated. Then we get to the regionals. Oh God! Now, as a coach, I'm keeping relating to you, Chance, because I'm the coach. I've been around coaching, and you've been around playing. You can really get upset at refereeing. You're like, these guys have it out for us,
Yeah, I've been there.
In this case, these guys were throwing the game on purpose because the boosters who basically got they had to give Herman Boone the job at first. Well, they were going to screw him over and then give the job back to Coach Yost and then get him into the Hall of Fame. So
they're trying to get Yost to throw the game, so that way Boone would get fired.
Yeah.
And not only would he get his job back, but he'd also get Coach of the Year, which he's been nominated for, I think, like 4 times, 5 times,
5 times or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the refs are throwing flags, and it's like, everybody and their brother, of course, Cheryl's going bananas in the crowd. She's like, that's not a penalty. That's not holding, all this stuff, Obviously, I said, then they find a way to win the game because Coach Yost basically goes and gets in the ref's face and said, hey, remember, we knew each other. I know you. You know me. This ain't worth it. What you're doing ain't worth it. And he goes up and he starts talking to Coach Boone and whatnot. Eventually, the ref turns it around and the team is able to play like a normal team is able to play. You're not having that 12th man on the field or 13th man on the field, So then they finally win the game, and Coach Yost basically goes to them and said, the other coach or whatever, and he goes, you make sure they remember the night they played the Titans. Because he doesn't want to be wrapped up in this scandal of all the referees through the game, and he becomes a new coach, he gets in the Hall of Fame. That's just not something anybody would. I wouldn't want to be embroiled in all that kind of controversy.
Exactly.
Emma tries to change for Gary. So she goes to Gary and she says, I know how much this means to you. I'm going to try to do what I can to change my ways, which is for her, that was a big thing because she is Gary's girlfriend. Gary still wants to be boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, but not if she's a racist. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's a changed man. He wants a changed woman.
Yeah, bingo. Then Coach Yost basically breaks the story to his daughter, and his daughter cries because he tells her that he's not going to make it into the Hall of Fame.
And again, his daughter's more broken up bad than he is.
Yeah. Because she knows her father and she loves her father, and
I get why.
Have a mother. She doesn't have a mother. Mother's not there. The father's all she has. And she knows she's proud of him and she wants the best for him. But he has to explain to her, I can't get in the Hall of Fame like this,
Right. No, exactly.
Then Gary's having a good old time driving down the street in his car, waving at everybody, and something happens, and all of a sudden he can't see right or whatever, and he gets hit by a truck.
Yeah.
He's in critical condition, paralyzed from the waist down, and Julius visits him in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, like the scene of like the team visiting him in the hospital, it's rough. It's a rough scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is another scene where Coach Yost kind of gives it to Coach Boone. It's not about winning and losing. And Coach Boone, I'm a winner. I win. That's all there is to it. He knows what happened to Gary is a big loss to him and the team, but he's still going to do anything he can to win the game. And that's all that matters to him is winning. And of course, Coach Yost, no, winning and losing, winning isn't everything,
It's not.
I've been around teams, and trust me, I've been in regional finals, I've been in playoffs, and when you're a coach and you never want to lose.
You don't.
But there's things in life that are bigger than winning and losing.
Yeah, the most important thing about besides winning should be like the safety of your players and like the well-being of your players. And Boone is kind of trivializing Gary's injury at this point.
Yeah, basically. So we're at the state championship game. Louis Lastic comes to coach and says, I'm eligible. I'm going to go to college. And he gives Coach Boone a big hug.
Yeah, which is a nice scene. Granted that whole like college thing, it's barely touched upon in the actual movie.
Yeah.
Like we cut through it here and then, but even despite the fact that that plot thread is very rarely touched upon, you still feel it. You still feel gratified. You still feel happy for this guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Petey gets benched, and Terry's mom gets a standing ovation, which is a very emotional moment.
It's a great moment. Great moment.
Emma runs down on the field and introduces herself to Julius, which that whole thing with Emma now comes to a conclusion. She started out not wanting anything to do with him. Then she said, I'll work with you. I'll try to get better. And then when Gary was in the hospital, she comes down to the field and she talks to Julius and says, I'm Emma. That's her arc in the film.
Yeah, it's a nice like capper to that arc in the film.
Yeah, it really is. Coach Boone basically says, we are perfect. We plan to end the season perfect. Mm-hmm. Coach Yost asked for help on defense. And Allen, who was put in for Petey, now comes and says, hey, I'm not as good as Petey. I want Petey to play. He says, if you want Petey to play, you go tell Petey that Petey's in.
Only time in his career, Ryan Gosling would take a back seat to Donald Faison. Yeah,
basically. You know, a lot of these arcs within the film are starting to come to a conclusion the further the film goes here, especially with the state championship on the line, you know. Marshall fumbles, Titans recover because Petey chased the guy down and caused the fumble. Now, Allen couldn't have done that.
No, because Petey is way faster.
Yeah. Then the Titans score. They end up winning the championship. After all this that's happened throughout the season, all the ups and downs and everything that's happened. And then at the end of the film, which is another great moment between Will Yost and Herman Boone, he goes, I know football, but what you did with those boys, you were the right man for the job. And then Coach Boone goes, you're a Hall of Fame in my book, Coach Yost. And we saw at the beginning there was a framing sequence. They're at a funeral. We don't know whose funeral they were at. Turns out it was Gary's funeral. And everybody at the funeral singing, hey, 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 goodbye.
Yeah, that's unintentionally funny in and of itself. But also, I want to talk about like the ending of the movie because like we literally get through narrators just like Gary overcame his handicap, went to the Paralympics, won gold medal, got another car crash and died. And then it's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, that could have been a movie in and of itself. Why are we getting that in 2 sentences?
Yeah. I don't know why they decided to do that, but I just think that this movie is a movie for people of all ages, all creeds, all colors, all people of all backgrounds, all religions. This is a movie that really resonates with people everywhere. In Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, in California, in Georgia. Everybody can relate to this story. It's such a story about overcoming so many odds, you know?
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, I think Remember Titans has an appeal that probably has the most wide appeal of any football movie I've ever seen. Because, like you said, like anybody can watch it, sit down, and enjoy it. I don't think I've met anybody who said like, "Oh, I'm Italian, that movie sucks." No, like everybody, it's a crowd pleaser. People love it, and yeah, I think it's I think it's going to go down as one of the great football movies of all time. I mean, Denzel Washington, as in everything, kills it. The cast is great. You feel the stakes, feel the weight of every moment in this film. It's really something special.
And the thing is, we're talking about, it came out 20 years ago. It holds up today.
It really does.
As a film that you could walk into your locker room of basketball players, hockey players, football players, any sport, and they could gain something from watching this film.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, the message of like teamwork and coming together, that could apply to like any sport. So like, you need like a team building movie for anything. Like this is a good one to put on.
Yeah, like a business, even a business. Like if you're a big business and your employees are having problems, there's things going on with the management and the employees. You could show this movie, and this movie could really bridge gaps between just coworkers on a job, really, in a lot of ways.
Good, it really could. I do believe it's that powerful with them.
Yeah. So, in your final thoughts, Chance, what does this film mean to you, and why is it important to overall? What was the reason why we should have talked about this film today?
Yeah, well, I think it's one that has had a surprising amount of cultural relevance. People today just love that movie. It's one of my all-time favorite football movies. I think Denzel Washington is one of my favorite actors, and this is one of my favorite role of his. I think he's so great in this film. Like I said, the cast is fantastic, and it has a lot of relevance today, even though it was made 20 years ago, and the ideals of it were something that were taught in the early 70s. It it's still very much relevant today. It still holds up. I think it's a great film, and more people should watch it.
No, I absolutely agree 100% with you. When we were talking about what you wanted to talk about, what film you want to talk about, and Remember the Titans came up, I just was like, well, yeah, of course we're going to talk about Remember the Titans. It's a perfect film to talk about. And when you're doing a special series, podcast of great sports films and sports films that mean something and that have a relevance in society, this is obviously one that should be discussed. And I was glad I had a chance to talk to you, Chance. And I'm just glad that you gave me the time to talk about this film and in this special series that I'm doing.
Of course.
So, for Chance Ellison, my name is Dan Skip Allen. Do you want to do any plugs, or do you just want to just?
Yeah, check out my podcast, Notorious by Chance. We do that. I'm trying to do it every week, but we've been a little backed up, but we're slowly getting back in the flow of it. Notorious by Chance. Check out PWCA on the podcast I run, and also check out the Schmodown where I compete.
All right. So for Chance and myself, good night.